Alright, so it has been a while since I've been able to do one of these tech talks. Haven't had a reason to drive with all this corona nonsense going on. But today was a beautiful day. It's gorgeous out here in Kansas City, Missouri, U.S. And just going for a fun ride. Not going anywhere, of course, but going for a ride. I figured I'd turn the video camera on and just talk with you guys. And specifically, I'm curious because right now in the U.S. there's something crazy, like 30 million layoffs, in a population of 350 million-ish people in the U.S. There's 30 million layoffs, the greatest percentage it's been since the Great Depression, if I'm not mistaken. And so, as with many of you guys, I got hit, I got laid off. And, it was a bummer, but luckily I'm still really young. I don't have people depending on me, but, it's still one of those things where it's like, crap. And I know there's a lot of people out there that they're not in such a gracious position that I'm in, and when I say gracious, I mean that nobody depends on my income except for me, that I live a pretty cheap life and made a comparably lot of money, so I have a lot of savings. So I know that's not everybody's position. I would even say I'm the minority on that. So what I want to talk about today is getting a job in tech. One of the things that has surprised me since I got laid off is that I'm still getting a lot of offers, 70, 80, even a few that are 90. And there's only been 2 offers I've gotten above 100 figure, or 100 figure, I wish, 100K salary. Which kind of blew my mind because, I got a solid resume because I have to have one. I have to have a really good resume because I don't have a college degree. And, that's it. I don't have a college degree, so I have to have all the recommendations, all the references, the GitHub, the freelance work, but over time, I've built up a really, really solid resume, and I can add, Fortune 500 company on there. I can add, worked in enterprise size, worked in startup, worked in intermediate. I have close to 10 full-on reference letters at this point. My LinkedIn account is, solid. My GitHub is solid. I obviously have the YouTube channel now to point people to. My past experience, what I can point project-wise, it's solid. And so, I feel like just because I didn't go to college, I'm uniquely qualified to really point out what's important to get noticed as a software developer, software engineer, while you're looking for a job. And due to the hard times, and so many people being laid off, I want to know, what do you guys want to learn on how to get hired? How to become an engineer once you have something to put on a resume? Like, do you guys want to know what it takes to build a resume? Like, where do you start to build a resume? Do you guys want to start earlier than that? Like, here, let's do it this way. Like, the whole process. First, when you get into software, you got to pick a niche. It's like the medical field. If you don't pick a niche, then you're going to be just all over the place, and you're never going to be good enough at anything to get a job. It's jack of all trades, master of none. And you don't want to be that guy in software. That's like a doctor going in and saying, hey, I'm going to be a neurologist, I'm going to be a cardiologist, and I'm going to be a psychologist. Like, it doesn't work. There's too much information out there. So pick your niche. There's like network architecting, like cloud computing, setting up load balancers, setting up, like the DNS, allowing access to things, setting up blah, 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 blah. Then there's the actual, like, development. There's web development. That's like the PHP, the JavaScript, the CSS, the HTML, the, SCSS, PostCSS, blah, blah, blah. That's what we cover most often here. Then there's other things out there too, like there's mobile app development. which is Android, and it's C++, or sorry, not C++, C Sharp, I believe, is what iOS uses. And then there's Swift, and then you can go on, and there's tons of other things out there that you can do as someone who is getting into software. So pick your niche, decide what you want to do, and go from there. The second thing, and so we can have more conversations on that. Is that what you guys want to learn about? Like, what each niche is? Do you want to learn more about what each niche is so you have more information and you can choose? And then once you choose, if you pick the niche I'm in, which is web development, PHP, JavaScript, I can point you guys to solid sources, like learning materials, like here, start here, and then you'll get good enough to where you can get here and here. And my viewpoint of web development is this: you want to be doing open source projects and freelance jobs as soon as possible. You won't get paid much, but you want to get the projects out there so you have stuff on your GitHub, and then you have people that have given you references and recommendations, even if it's just through something like Upwork, where it's just like, hey, 5 stars, loved working with them, Zach was great, hey, Tommy did amazing on this app, really fast, really responded, worked well with me, I'll hire him again, like even those. So do you want to learn on that part? And then, like, what to get into? I can teach more about what each niche is. Then once you choose your niche, the second part that we can talk on is what it takes to get better, what it takes to get better, what are the resources, what are the progressions, the learning progressions, what are realistic timelines, what are something that makes sense and isn't overkill. It's not overdue, but it's also with the understanding that, hey, you actually want to do this, you're willing to put in the effort to do it. What are the actual expectations? If you have the right resources, if you have the right path planned out, then there's pretty easy setups. It's a curriculum at that point, and it's a little different than a traditional school curriculum, thank God, but it's still a pretty good curriculum. So once you choose your niche, how do you set up your curriculum? How do you set the expectations for where you should be and what's realistic? And what is the end goal to that? Okay, so we can talk about that part. The third part is, once you have a decent skill set up, a skill set that is valuable to a company, you're competent, not necessarily amazing, and probably a lot less good than you would assume you have to be. If you market yourself right and you set up the right stuff. So like your GitHub, the big one that people miss all the time is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has some really cool SEO tricks, search engine optimization tricks, to where you can get yourself shown on jobs that you want just by setting up your LinkedIn page the right way. And then when headhunters, these guys that find software developers for jobs, where you'll contract through their company usually for these bigger companies, then they'll find you through LinkedIn. They don't go to your GitHub account initially. GitHub's once you get in the door. That's what you show the interviewers. That's what you do with the people that know code. But in my experience, 99% of the people that reach out to me for job opportunities, and there's 2 to 3 of them a week, they're all through LinkedIn. So how do you set up your LinkedIn? How do you set up your LinkedIn to get those people looking at you? And when should you do this? Like, you don't want to spend 6 months building up the skill set and then just start your GitHub there and your LinkedIn account then and your Upwork account then. Like, you want to get those kicked off early, not necessarily right away early, but early enough to, as you're learning, you're building them up. So you don't build them up all at once. So by the time you've accumulated the skill set, your LinkedIn, your GitHub, your freelance profiles, like, those have already built up some credibility, some attention, and they're ranking higher in SEO, and they'll grab some attention. So how do you do that? That would be, I think, the third and the fourth step. So the first one is, how do you pick your niche? Do you want to learn how to pick your niche? What are the niches? Learn information so you're more informed before you decide what you want to do. The second thing we can talk about and learn about is how we actually go about learning. based on our niche, what is the curriculum? How do you decide that? Who decides that? Why does it matter? Where do you go? Who are the authorities in that niche that can teach you the right way to do things? And not just the right way, like, here's the best, I don't know, here's the best architecture, here's how you do solid. Like, it's so much more than that. Those are very important, but it's more of tooling, like Laracast. I can't say enough about Laracast, and I'm promoting Laracast right now, and honestly, a lot of you guys that go and see Laracast, he teaches, it's Jeffrey Ways, and he teaches the official Laravel stuff, which is, we cover that a lot. We cover Slim, we cover Laravel and PHP. I'm literally pointing you to a resource that, if you ask me, like, between Clean Code Studio and Laracast at this current point in time, I'm saying go to Laracast. And I've been pretty hesitant to bring up Laracast in the past, just because there hasn't been a good reason. It's one of my recommended channels on the Clean Code Studio homepage, YouTube page. He is Jeffrey Ways' Laracast's YouTube channel is one of my recommended, because it's amazing. That being said, I've been hesitant to bring it up because he is just that good, and we teach similar things. But his YouTube channel is not quite as populated. It's laracast.com, and it's a $50 a month subscription. If you're going in PHP, JavaScript, especially the Laravel path, it is a must-have. Like, he is amazing. Again, they don't do affiliates. This is no affiliation. If you ask anybody who's been to Laracast, that's the type of content you need to find, because he teaches solid, he teaches object-oriented programming, he teaches, all that stuff, but he teaches so much more than that. He teaches tooling, how to set up your PHP storm, terminal workflow, like just being faster, opening up Sublime from your terminal, adding shortcuts, writing clean, understandable code, not always making it perfect, designed, architectural. Like, real world examples is what you want. You want to learn through real world application of software development. And the reason for that is that when you learn through real world examples, you can add that to your profile, or your portfolio, your profile, your resume. And in my opinion, I think it's a better way to learn. So that's step 2, is to learn the curriculum, the resources that are going to teach you the craft, and not make you pay $20,000 to do it. Again, I don't have a college degree, and during a time when 30 million people are laid off, I'm still getting job opportunities. They have been less generous than the ones before Corona. And I used to get 100 to 130K opportunities all the time. Now those are down, and I only have 1 or 2 of those. But there's still good opportunities, and it makes sense because we're in the middle of a international epidemic, and there's 30 million people they have to choose from, right now. And in the software niche, it's probably, like 2 or 3 million people that normally are at a job and they don't have a chance to, you're competing against all of them right now. So how do you set yourself up during times like this, in the worst possible times? You are still valuable enough and known enough, seen enough to get that 6-figure gig. So step 1 is pick your niche. Step 2 is understand how to build your own curriculum. What needs to be in your curriculum, and what are the resources you can use. Step 3 is to set up your GitHub, set up your LinkedIn, and set up like an Upwork account. Start doing open source coding, and do freelance as soon as possible. And don't do it for the money. You're not going to get paid a lot for freelance at first. Even get a job on Upwork, at first, there's some people that make over $100 an hour off that. But at first, you have to sell your soul, but you're still learning. So sell your soul to learn. And then, after you have 2 or 3 projects under your belt, and these can be one-day projects, then, you can start saying, okay, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $35 an hour, But the biggest thing you want to do on these freelance accounts is you want to get the 5 stars. You want to get the testimonials. And when I was doing freelance, and I don't anymore because frankly I'm not a huge fan of it, because it's a lot of work, and you have to really care about the testimonials and the recommendations. And sometimes, or a few times to be exact, 3 times out of like the 50 or 60 freelance gigs I had, I literally, I had an upset client, and 2 of them wasn't my fault at all. They were just completely changing the scope of the project, and I had to break ties, but I had to do that without being, without being punched in the gut and getting a 1 or 2 star review. So 3 times throughout those 50, 60 freelance projects, I gave them their money back because I cared about the 5 stars and I cared about the recommendation more than I cared about the money. And it's paid off in the long run. You can put those recommendations, that 5-star Upwork profile, when you get top rated on Upwork, which I had for a while, but if you don't use it, you lose it. You can put that on your resume. And when you get a real gig, when you get one of those, jobs that have everything you ever wanted, and then they also give you some free time on the side to build your own stuff, that's usually not going to be through freelance. Freelance is a full-time job. So what you want to do with freelance is you want to use it as a way to build up your resume. And if you have to do it for free, do it for free. It's better than going to college and paying $100,000, right? It's like you'll probably get $500 to $1,500 out of it if you do 5 to 10 projects, honestly. And it's going to suck, and you're going to feel like, hey, I'm getting screwed. I'm doing a job. I'm not getting paid much. Don't go into it thinking it's a job where you deserve to get paid much. You need to build up your resume and portfolio. Then you get paid the big bucks. So the thing is you're always going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to do it for cheap. And then once you build up the resume, once you build up the portfolio, then you'll have the LinkedIn headhunters coming to get you, and they'll bring you in, and they're the ones that introduce you to the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies. The only exceptions to these are there's FANG. That's like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all the others. So that's step 3 is building up the portfolio as you learn and not making it 2 different things. You don't want to learn everything and then build up the portfolio. You want to build your portfolio as you're learning. And then number 4 is, of course, getting the interview, which is through LinkedIn. And then the 5th one is nailing that interview, which honestly, it has surprised me how easy these interviews have been in the past. Personally, I've only gone into 1 interview, and this was when I only had like 6 months of experience, 9 months of experience, and I actually told him I had no GitHub experience at the time, which I didn't know that was a big thing. Like, if you go in and you don't have GitHub experience, don't say you don't have GitHub experience unless they ask. I went in, I said, one of my main goals in getting a job here is I want to learn how to work on a team project and not just solo freelance entrepreneurial stuff. I want to learn how to work on a team and use GitHub. And right there, I lost the job. I was not getting that job. If you don't know GitHub, it's pretty easy. It's straightforward. It's a little bit of a learning thing, but it's no harder than learning, how to use PHP and set that up, how to do a lot of things. It's one of the easier things to learn. And of course, you can deep dive in it. So that's it, guys. I'm curious on what your guys' thoughts are. I want to really start pushing content that's more than just the code and the technicalities. I'm trying to do some of that too, and push more of that actually with PHP, especially Slim lately. So the Slim framework's awesome, and I've started actually getting to know the core team a little bit, and I'm helping on a console tool for Slim and that's really cool. So I've been still doing and trying to push slim content, and I'm planning on doing something on Laravel Sanctum for SPA and API authentication via access tokens here pretty soon. But outside of that, I want to start also doing a lot of content on stuff like this, on stuff that is so important, and there doesn't seem to be many specific step-by-step answers out there. There's a lot of, here's some good ideas to take into account. I want to start doing the step-by-step, the actual, not here's what you should kind of do. Like, I want to say, here are your options, pick one. Once you pick one, here are your steps. So what are the hardest sticking points out there? What are people really struggling with? What are you struggling with? What do you need help with to go to the next step? So let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking on this, because I know it's a really hard time, and like I said, I am with you guys. I was at one of the largest marketing companies in the US, and I was doing software on one of our Fortune 500 clients, and they happened to lose billions in the stock market. I'm also in marketing. I was a contractor, not a full-time employee, because I did not need all the benefits they offered, and because of all of those things combined, I got laid off, right? And it happens. Thankfully, I've just been through this process before, and I had to build up my resume and figure out how to get the attention of these bigger companies without a college degree. And through that, I've just learned some really cool tricks, especially on LinkedIn, and that just really help you stand out. And in times like this, when we have 30 million layoffs, the fact of the matter is a college degree doesn't make you stand out. It doesn't, unless that college degree is from Harvard or Yale. And if it is, good for you. I'm a little salty, I'm going to be honest. I'm jealous. I wish I had one of those, maybe an MIT. But other than that, if it's just a normal software engineering degree, guys, it just doesn't matter as much as it did. And to give you an idea, at one of my old gigs, I used to hire, and I did 200 interviews, just around 200 interviews, a place called Webinet. And I would interview over Laravel, and experience with virtual machines, experience with Git, experience with object-oriented programming, which most people got wrong, and et cetera. Most of the people out of college with the college degree, when I heard college degree and I was interviewing, for right or wrong, I had this initial thing in the back of my head, like, oh gosh, here we go. They're going to think they're a little better than they probably are, just right off the bat, especially if they're new to the industry and they haven't been kicked in the ass yet. So, out of all of those 5 steps that it takes to become a software engineer and to get a job, what are you guys most interested in learning first? I want to prioritize this based on what people need right now, because it's a hard time, and we're damn software engineers. We'll get jobs. And to give you an idea, I'm going to my 3rd interview tomorrow, and that pretty confident that's going through. So I want to help out as much as I can and pass on the knowledge that I've accumulated by having to build up a resume with no college degree, with no person guiding me and holding my hand along the way. And I think I've got some pretty cool tips and tricks. I just want to nail down on the specifics that most people are struggling with, and then we'll get that content out there and hopefully help out a ton of people. So that's all I got today, guys. Let me know in the comments below. Give me your feedback, and we'll talk back and forth. And if anybody has any specific questions, if they have an interview coming up and they want, whatever it is, if they have an immediate question they need answered and they can't wait for these videos, let me know. Let me know, and I will do my best to get to you and, and to get back to you. Like I said, I know it is a trying time. I know things are hard, and I know many, many, many have to support families and have a whole bunch of stuff going on. If you guys need help, please reach out. Let me know, and let's get the conversation started in the comments. What do we need to know more about to get those jobs? What are the sticking points? Is it the learning? Is it not feeling competent enough in the skill set? Is it not being specific enough? Is it not being able to get into the interview? Is it the interview process itself? Is it, not a big enough, not big enough, quality enough resume? Is it not getting the call back once you've had the resume? Like, what sticking points are you having? Let's talk about it below, and we will get some content on that coming soon based on the thread below. That's all I got today, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to hear what everybody has to say. This is Zachary Horn, Clean Code Studio. Clean Code, Clean Life, Simplified.